Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another live session. Sorry, it's in while I'm on the road right now because I had to do a viewing. So, we are now going to be going live with a lady who is a therapist and consults her clients with when dealing with anxiety, stress, trauma, and midlife crisis. I'm sure a lot of us within our relationships go through all that, and it's going to be good to know about how to deal with these factors when in a relationship, personal, business, work, between employees, all that kind of stuff. So let's send this over to the send. I mean, everyone deals with anxiety and stress and trauma, whatever it is, and it's good to know about how to deal with that. So here we go. We've got the hormone fairy who is live with us.
Hi,
Hi, Kat. How are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm not in my office right now. I'm out and about. I had a viewing and I was running out of time, so I thought I'll do the live while I'm on the road. So great. Thank you so
Well,
much for joining me today.
pleasure. It's nice to see someone outside enjoying the sunshine.
Um, but it's good that you've come to be a part on my mission to spread the knowledge, to share the knowledge, to spread positivity amongst the human race that we are. Thank you so much for joining me on my mission.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
Super. So, Kat, before we start, if you can introduce yourself as to who you are and what you do so that we can get the conversation moving.
Okay. I'm Kat. I am known as the Hormone Fairy, and I help women in their 40s and 50s to get through the perimenopause years and the menopause years as naturally as possible using natural medicine, nutrition, mindset, and lifestyle coaching.
Super. That's absolutely amazing. So, Kat, what I wanted to ask you is that, as we're growing up in life and we're kids and, childhood, school, college, university, and we go and see different careers in our pathway, like possibly our parents, our family, our relatives, our friends, uncles, aunties, and we see them being doctors, lawyers, engineers, architects. Did you ever aspire to be like that, or you always had this vision in your mind that you wanted to be a therapist or to help people with your knowledge that you have right now within this industry?
That's an interesting question because absolutely not. I grew up, my parents were self-employed, so I
Okay,
think that was always going to be my route, that I was going to be self-employed. I think that was in my blood.
okay.
But when I was growing up, first of all, I wanted to be an air hostess.
Wow.
I think quite a few women want to be air hostesses at
Yeah,
some point for
absolutely,
some reason. It
absolutely.
seems quite glamorous when you're a
Yeah.
child. And then I did, when I got to doing my A levels, I wanted to be a physiotherapist. So maybe that
Okay.
was something, it was in the health industry. But I didn't really go to school between 16 and 18 very much. I was
Bunking
a
off
bad
school.
girl. I was the one bunking off school, and so I didn't do very well in my A levels.
We,
And
we 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 all have that in us, right?
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's like right now. I was just speaking to my friend yesterday, and we were like, all those times you were at school, and we used to think that we want to grow up and we don't want to deal with school life and studies and education. And now that you've grown up, you think that let's go back.
Exactly. It was the
Let's
best days of my life, wasn't it?
let's
No
relive
stress.
that time. No
Yeah,
stress.
exactly.
No one sort of you don't have to work that hard to bring the food on the table, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's all part of life, I guess, right?
Yes. So I didn't do very well in the A levels, didn't go to uni, and it wasn't till I was actually in my 30s that I changed my career path and ended up going into natural medicine and health.
Okay, super. So when you were growing up and you were at school and you thought about being an air hostess, for example, what intrigued you towards that? Was it the glamour? Was it the travel? Was it like the fact that you could be anywhere you wanted in the world
I think that's
at the expense of the airline?
exactly. I think it was that. It looked very glamorous. I don't think it is a very glamorous job now, but it was
Wow,
travel for me. I just a bit of a free spirit and being able to see the world and travel. I think that was in my
that's
thought
good.
process.
That's good. And then while you were obviously you mentioned that I wouldn't say that not being great at school. Everyone goes through that process. But why did you feel that you had to sort of lay back a bit on your education and not be that child or not be that student like that A level student, A star student? What sort of stopped you from doing that?
I think, to be honest, I was quite bright growing up, and then I got to the stage I thought, I didn't
Was
need to
it was
work.
it the was it the wrong friend circle where you were in or something like that that sort of dragged you out of that?
Um, I think, well, I didn't need to work for my GCSEs, pass them
Okay.
with flying colours, so I thought I could do the same with my A levels. And
Um,
then I discovered I've started playing golf. So instead
okay.
of going to school, I would go and play golf instead.
So
Didn't
is
get me very
golf
far, but but I had
Did
fun.
you ever aim to be I don't know any woman golfer, but the only one I know is Tiger Woods. Did you ever aim to be in that sort of career in life?
I I didn't aim to be in that career, but I did fall into the golf career. So
Okay.
I ended up marrying a golf professional.
Wow. Amazing.
And then I had he went into being a teaching golf pro, and I ended up owning golf shop businesses with him. So that was my career path. I ended up in the golf industry for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And then while you were in that golf industry, what sort of made you think that I want to get into physiotherapy. I want to start helping people, women. In what you're doing, you're actually helping women from all natures of life, all ages of life. What sort of intrigued you to get into that?
It was when I had my daughter. I was quite young when I had my daughter, and she ended up getting very poorly, ended up in hospital.
Wow.
Doctors looked at me like I was a parent, literally told me I was a paranoid mother. And she was so poorly, she ended up in hospital. And my mum told me about homeopathic medicine.
Okay.
So I took her to a homeopath. And that was it really. From there onwards, I started looking into more alternative health. And then it was later in my 30s, I got out of the golf industry as the internet was coming in and it was becoming
Yep.
more and more
Yep.
challenging.
Yep. Yep.
And it was when my father died that I had this a bit, not a midlife crisis, but it just made me think, right, life's too short. What do I
Yep.
want to do for myself?
Of
And I
course.
decided to retrain in natural medicine and homeopathy. So that took me down that path. And then I was just seeing more and more women with hormone issues, anxiety, depression. I do still treat men with anxiety and depression, but it was when I was just before my 40th birthday, I really started to notice my hormones all over the place. And so that's why I just focused really on women's health, because so many women don't understand it.
Sure. I hope it's not windy. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear perfectly.
Super. Um, what is anxiety and what is stress? Can you explain? I mean, I try to understand one of my friends goes through it, and he really had a real bad 2 years before, and he was like, every time like I've had an anxiety attack or I've had, I can't deal with my feelings, and I can't express my feelings. What is anxiety? Can you talk me through it? How do people get into that sort of nature or feeling that they feel like I even don't know what anxiety is. How do you feel that way?
I think particularly if I talk mainly about women here, just to give you an understanding of that, is that well, it's the same with men. Nowadays we live in a very stressful lifestyle. We may not feel stressed, but we've got the pressure of going to work, paying the bills, looking after the children. We're constantly on our phones, answering emails. Then at the moment we've got this mad time that we're living in.
But can I just hold you there for a second?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we are everything at a touch of a button right now. We call someone, we get them. Like someone was saying, like the other day, like a mobile phone has become such a part of life that you think that everyone's on call 24/7.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. Now take you a few years back into the black and white TV ages. The 50s, the 60s, the 40s, for example. We didn't have all of this technology. Our parents, my grandparents, didn't have all this technology. They couldn't get to someone at a touch of a button. Wouldn't that be stressful? Then today, where everything's at a touch of a button, but stress has increased even more. Why is that sort of?
Yeah.
Why are we living in that feeling?
Because we, like you say, we never switch off. Looks back to those generations, they did switch off. They did take time out. They did take breaks. Most people, if they had a 9-to-5 job back then, they actually worked 9 to 5. Whereas nowadays, people that have 9-to-5 jobs are expected to be in the office at 7 o'clock in the morning and not leave till 7, 8 o'clock at night. So there's too much pressure put on us. We're not taking that time out for ourselves because, like you say, we're on call on a touch of a button. Everything's fast paced. We're putting more pressure on ourselves. And then also the food that we're eating nowadays is not as healthy as back then when, they grew their own vegetables or they would just eat, the meat and vegetables. Whereas now
made their own oil, for example, all of those things which go into the ingredients of the food, of your dinner, of lunch, or breakfast, whatever it is, it's all, like we say it in today's world, organic.
Exactly. And then, so it's a combination. You've got the exterior stress, but then you've also got interior stress because most of us aren't looking after our bodies. We're, grabbing food on the go. We're quite often eating at our desks, eating standing up, or you only have to look at the supermarkets. How many aisles in the supermarket actually have fresh fruit and veg and meat or fish?
Exactly.
It's just coloured boxes. And then we're putting so much rubbish into our bodies that our gut is becoming toxic. And that's where our serotonin, our happy hormone, is made in. Most of it is made inside our gut. So,
and is that one of the causes of anxiety and stress of not eating the right food?
It can be, yeah. It can be gut related. The gut is seen as the second brain. So there's a big gut-brain connection. So if you're eating crap, you may feel like crap. So there's that side of things.
You will think like crap.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. And you know yourself. If you eat rubbish, quite often we feel lethargic. We feel tired.
Yep. You have one McDonald's cheeseburger. That's it. You're done.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we're talking about anxiety and stress. Like someone just told me right now when all this COVID happened, and I sort of lost a few big commissions at the back of the lockdown. And I started talking, and I don't say this on my live sessions, but I still don't believe that there is such thing as.
Yeah, I'm same trail of path, same thought process.
But my friends sort of, what do you call it, titled me as you are going through depression because it's hit you. And it's hit you so bad that you keep talking about it, that it's not there. You make other people believe. Is that depression?
No, depression. I think too many people say they have mental health issues or depression. Depression it's very deep. So quite often, I've heard people before lockdown. I would hear children in the house club, in the gym that I go to, saying, "I'm too stressed to go swimming." 5 years old, and you think, what parent has taught their kids even the word stress? But when you get depressed, you don't want to do anything. You literally cannot do anything. You just want to hibernate. You want to stay in your house. You don't want to go out. You don't want to talk to people. So too many people, I feel, are saying I'm depressed when actually you might just be having a bad day, you might be having a bad week, and
And
mental health has become a bit of a,
does it come from the mind that you keep thinking, you keep saying that I'm depressed, I'm depressed, I'm depressed.
yeah,
I'm going through anxiety, I'm going through stress, I'm going through trauma. When you keep saying that, does that sort of put you into that situation rather than, okay, if you're going through it, deal with it?
yeah,
And this is what I want to come at. How do you deal with someone talking about, oh, I'm going through depression, or someone going through depression, someone going through anxiety and stress? I'll come to midlife crisis because we uh, we have like our friends, my friends, and we when we sit down sometimes with our wives and we sort of argue and we're like, yeah, you're going through midlife crisis. But we'll come back to that at a separate
yeah,
topic. But just going through this, how can one deal with all that stress and trauma and
yeah.
anxiety and depression? What are the key features to deal with that?
Okay, so in natural medicine, in homeopathy, or in different, even like Chinese medicine, different modalities of natural medicine, we understand that our thoughts and our emotions, if we don't deal with them, they get stored inside our body. So
Okay.
they can get stored inside the tissues of our body. So quite
Okay.
often you'll see somebody, for example, somebody might go through grief, losing a parent or something, and they've not dealt with it. And quite often then they'll get lung issues or issues with their chest within 6
Okay.
months because they've not spoken about it. So I'm a big believer that, health is about talking, about relaxation, eating the right food. So it's a combined approach. It's very difficult when people are anxious or depressed. Some people like the feeling because they get sympathy, attention and sympathy. So by saying they're anxious, depressed, they might get attention. People that are truly depressed very rarely speak about it because they literally want to be on their own.
Exactly. I mean, if I'm, I rarely get depressed. The only time I get depressed is like, let's say maybe I've lost a property deal or the offer hasn't gone through or whatever it may be. But I don't get depressed over the fact that my wife isn't talking to me
Yeah.
or we've had an argument or, like.
So when you say you're depressed though, are you just having a bad day? A
Yeah,
bad couple of
exactly. I would
hours?
just be
Exactly.
I wouldn't even class it as depression. It's just
Yeah.
a sad moment.
Yeah.
You've lost a deal. Okay, after like an hour, my friend calls me, or my friend calls me up, or I speak to my father, and my mindset just diverts to that conversation. I start thinking about that conversation rather than keep on thinking about, oh, I lost a deal, oh, I lost my offer, this, that, constantly thinking about that and digging myself deep into it. Why do people do that?
It's mindset. It's just not having a positive mindset. So many people have a negative mindset. So part of that is having the right people around you, the right friends, maybe doing meditation, listening to positive podcasts, YouTubes, listening to positive music to lift
The
your
the
spirit.
live session, the live session that I do, yeah, listen to it.
Exactly. There you go. Listen to this. So it's about, if you want to, you can snap yourself out of it, not instantly, but you can snap yourself out of it. And it's about having the right people around you, as well as putting the right food into your body to nourish it. If you're eating well, then you're less likely to be depleted in nutrients that could make you more anxious, more depressed.
What are the best foods to eat when you're going through that?
It goes back to really fruits and vegetables.
Green vegetables, fruits.
Green vegetables, and then anxiety and depression, lots of orange fruit and vegetables. So things like orange, even sniffing an orange can lift your mood.
Is it?
Yeah, so try it. Wow. If you get down, carry an orange with you. Next time you lose a property deal,
just carry an orange in my pocket the whole time.
But orange, like sweet potatoes are amazing for just eating the right food to boost your mood is so important as well. So it's a combined.
Wow. And no chocolate, right? I guess.
No, but then that's what we're programmed, aren't we? Especially as women.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
As women, we watch I don't know, like Bridget
Netflix,
Jones or
a tub
Netflix,
of
and
Haagen-Dazs, and
you
that's
know,
it.
you've broken up with someone, and you reach for the fridge, bottle of wine, tub of Haagen-Dazs, bar of
That's it.
chocolate, and it makes you feel great for what, 30 minutes, maybe an hour,
And
and then
that's
you're
it.
back to crying.
Guys, you feel depressed, you're going through anxiety, stress, trauma, sniff an orange. It's
There you
better.
go. Try it. Let me know.
um, so we've discussed all of that. Now coming to the main topic, midlife crisis. Why do people refer it as midlife crisis? Okay, yeah, midlife, 35, 45 sort of age. The husband and wife are sort of tired of seeing each other's faces for so long. But why midlife crisis? What is it? And why do people talk about it as midlife crisis?
Again, it's just a term that we've all grown up with and been told, isn't it? But
Yep.
it does come down to you literally, it's the reason in women, not only is it time that their hormones are up the creek, they're coming to a stage where because they're entering menopause, they no longer have the ability to give birth or get pregnant, even if they're in their 40s and that's the last thing they want. But
Yep.
actually, it hits you and you think, oh, wow, I can't have any more children. Not that you want them, but it's just that choice has been taken away from you, even though you've probably got kids and can think of nothing worse.
Exactly. But why would you think it that way?
It's just something women do. It's, yeah, it just hits them.
Possibly it's the fact that you want to keep having babies and leave the babies in the baby structure rather than the babies growing up.
Yeah,
Is that the
maybe. And
case?
then, yeah, and then that's this other thing. So then you're in your 40s, 50s, children have grown up, your children no longer need you, children are moving out, leaving home, hopefully, if they can afford a mortgage. Then you look at your marriage or your relationship, and maybe you've not actually spoken to your husband much for the last 20 years because you've been bringing up children, or the same with men. You know, maybe they've not spent much time with their wife, and all of a sudden they've got to recreate a life.
But that's life, right?
It is life, but then it's that thought process, and then you look at your parents, maybe your parents are elderly, and you're thinking, right, is this it? Is this the next 20, 30 years? What have I got to look forward to? And I think it's a lot of it is, apart from the emotional side, so we're not, for women, very much hormonal.
Yep.
But it can be almost like boredom, thinking, well, what's next? What's the next challenge? And so, you know, I don't know, maybe
Grandchildren.
men, yeah.
Grandchildren,
maybe,
I guess.
yeah. But you go through that period before that where you haven't got the grandchildren. So where your children have left home. So you've got empty nest, especially for women.
Yeah.
Empty nest, you're no longer needed as a mother or...
A sense of rejection.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, it's almost like a loss and yeah, you are being rejected in some ways.
But
Until your kids want money and then they come knocking on the door. And
that's always the case, right?
so you go through that period of transition, and then...
But then you go through that period even when you're raising your kids. Like I go through that every single time. Like, for example, my kids now, they don't like coming on my Instagram videos. And I'm always there standing and trying to take their video, like, come on, talk to me, man.
Yeah.
And they're like against it. For some reason, they've gone against it. But yes, there is that rejection. I'm not going to hold them up to it, and I'm not going to start arguing with them, and I'm not going to start thinking that, oh, why is my kid rejecting me on that? But you deal with that rejection all your life. It be your kids, it be your wife, it be your parents, whoever it is. You can't just have appreciation and acceptance all your life. If that was the case, then you would be needed the whole time. And you wouldn't have that sense of rejection. And then when you don't have that sense of rejection, then you could blame it on the fact that midlife crisis. But if you've been dealing with that rejection all your life, going through sort of telling your kid, can you make your bed, please? And they're like, no. Isn't that rejection?
It is, but it all just comes at the same time. I think it's just this mass, everything comes to you at the same point. So 40s, 50s, especially with women, if we're talking about women's anxieties, midlife crisis, it's at that time where the hormones are just completely depleted. So it's almost like the happiness, the joy has gone out of their life.
Okay.
And it's putting that
sorry,
back in.
go ahead.
So it's putting that back in. It's finding things to fill the space with, really.
fill the space with what exactly? How can you fill that space? I mean, you can't fill the space again with your kids. You can't,
No,
if let's say your husband's died or your wife's died, whoever, whatever, you can't fill that space again. That person will, even if you get remarried, that person will never be your husband that was. So,
exactly.
like, have we just termed this as a term like, okay, midlife crisis, that's it. But it's just a way of life that it is that we are
It is.
put into.
Yeah.
So, and
Well,
you're
don't you think
mentioning
we put too many labels on things? We like
exactly,
having labels.
exactly, and that's why I mean, for example, designers as well, right? Just sort of diverging from this right now. People like wearing labels, designer labels,
Yes.
Gucci, Prada, Armani, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, do you need it? Do you need so much? And then sometimes in depression, like a lot of the people, I was just speaking to another success coach the other day, and he mentioned that a lot of the rich and wealthy go through depression, you know, because possibly they don't have a family, possibly their family is just, they sort of realize that their family is there because of the money that they have, all that kind of stuff. So you're right, labeling everything that we do in life. And I
Yeah.
think what you're mentioning right now, like midlife crisis, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
Just a label, just
It
a
is.
label, but it's
It's
a
a
part
label.
of life that
It is.
we all have to go through, correct?
Yeah. It's like you say, it's no different to being an 18-year-old coming out of school and going through that period of whether you're going to go to university or whether you're going to start a career. It's a challenging time.
Exactly,
But
exactly.
we just have this label, midlife crisis. It's similar to we have a label, puberty. They're going through puberty. They're going through menopause. They're going
Yeah, yeah.
through midlife crisis. They've got a cold. They've got depression. They've got mental health. I think we're getting too much into these labels instead of just living and enjoying life. And yeah, we
Uh,
have bad days. We have good days, but we can all find at least one or two positives in the day. We've got a
of
beautiful,
course, of course. I was just feeling right now like before I was at the office and I had to come and do this viewing, and the guy was like, I'm running like an hour late on my video call. So I was like, I've got to do this, and then what do I do when I go there? So, just bringing that thought to mind. And I thought, okay, let's make a positive out of it. Why don't I do a live session about the property? I've got all this time. Let's do a live session about it. I'll generate content for my marketing, So you've got to, it's like you mentioned that you bring out the positive from a negative situation, but then also try and find the opportunity to bring out that positive, right? I mean, would you not agree with that?
Yeah, totally. I'm very much into that. I mean, I'm doing a call this week with women, and every morning I've been saying to them, right, write down 3 things that you're grateful for, and just change your mindset. And then when you're having a bad moment later in the day, and your to-do list is going through the roof, and your anxiety's kicking in, write down one thing that you did. Have an I did list,
Of course.
and find the positive. So you've got a huge to-do list, but
You've got to
did,
use did
you
list.
finished a project, so you've got did list. Be proud of your achievements. Find the positive in
Absolutely.
the negative situations. So I'm all
Um,
about that.
just coming to yourself and your career and your profession. In your profession right now, what you're doing, do you have a huge ratio of men coming to you, or you have a huge ratio of women coming to you?
At the moment, it's women because that's predominantly what I'm marketing to.
Okay.
Men tend to, it's interesting, when men come to see me, they don't come with anxiety or depression. They
They
tell
forget that
me,
at, they forget that at home, I
yeah,
guess.
well, they tell me, quite often, they're interesting, they tell me they're coming, it's normally to do with stomach issues.
Okay.
And then actually when I get to see them, all this anxiety, depression comes out. I mean, I deal with quite a few people in the professional football industry. I've got clients
Wow.
in that industry, and they're so
Wow.
stressed and anxious.
What would they be stressed about? They've got a good life.
Well, exactly, but it's high pressure, isn't it? And you're
Yeah.
constantly in the media being slated,
Targeted. Exactly.
targeted. So there's lots of anxiety around that. sometimes not happy at home. So lots of
So it
things.
could be
And then,
a lot of those things that could trigger your mind
yeah,
into going into all those sort of depressed feeling, anxiety,
yes,
stress, trauma,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
maybe taking it out on your partner if you're
partner.
going through midlife crisis, all that
Exactly.
kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then
Um,
quite often they don't, that's what they do. Sometimes their partners or wives will send them to me, but they never, very rarely if I ever had a man say, come to book an appointment, says I've got anxiety or depression, it's always like a stomach issue or something. So whether they're embarrassed about it, and then when they get there, all of a sudden they come out, and that's why they're actually coming to see me, is anxiety, depression, grief, you know, parents, people that have lost their parents, men, they find it really hard to speak
sort of
about. And sometimes
cope.
all they need is somebody to speak to for an hour, just to let them be heard, not be judged, get their thoughts out. And quite often with men, they don't feel they can tell their wife or their partner because they don't want to feel a burden. And also it's their ego. They don't want their ego to be crushed. So
And
some men aren't honest to their partners, wives, about how they're feeling.
which husband is honest to his wife?
There you go. And it's the same. It's the same for the men in sport that have psychologists. They don't
Yeah,
tell their psychologists the truth because they're too fearful that it will get back to
of
their
course. I mean,
spouse
when you
or their career.
because you're working in a team and people know
Exactly.
everyone, so it's
Yeah.
always good to talk to a stranger like yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'll just say this, that anyone watching this right now or who's going to watch this and you're going through the labels that life puts on you, I wouldn't say their names because it's just labels as we mentioned. Get in touch with Kat, the hormone fairy, and I am sure she will be of great help to you. But Kat, thank you so much for coming on here,
Thank
sharing
you.
your knowledge, sharing what you do, how you do it, and the ways to deal with it. Thank you so much for coming on
It's
here.
a
But
pleasure.
before you go, it's been a positive live session throughout about you talking with positivity on here. But I do this with everyone that comes on here, and I like for them to share a positive advice that me, the world could take on board. Obviously, going through all this negativity around us right now with what happened in since March, and now with COVID and everything like that. What positive advice would you like to share with them so that they can take that on board and forget all their anxiety, stress, trauma, depression, all those labels that people put on you? Forget all of that stuff and move forward with life.
Okay, so my advice for you today is to find your favorite song, call it your power song. Think back to maybe when you were a teenager, when you were 20, 30 years old, when you were, let's go back to 20 maybe, dancing in the nightclubs. What was your favorite tune? Start playing that. So when you get up in the morning, play that song, lift your spirit. When you're feeling a bit rubbish, play that song again, then think of other songs, create a playlist of your favorite songs that will make you smile, and that will lift your mood.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us
Absolute
today. Thank
pleasure.
you for sharing that therapy. I would call it therapy, right?
Mm,
You got to put yourself through it so that you forget all of that from your brain, your mind, whatever, and have that positive mindset. But thank you so much for coming on here and sharing that with us today. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
it's been a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Take care, Kat.
You
Bye
have a
bye.
wonderful weekend.
You too. Take
Take
care.
care. Bye.
Bye. Well, wow. That was Kat, the hormone fairy, talking about all the weird labels that people put on you, or you go to a doctor or you go to a psychologist. But these are real people out there that tell you how to deal with the stress, the depression, the anxiety, the trauma, the midlife crisis, all of that stuff. Go out and check out these real people who advise you, who give you that therapy to deal with those issues. So thank you so much to Kat for joining me today on that. Thank you to all the viewers that tuned in. It's been a pleasure to have you on. It's Friday. It's the weekend. Do join me again Monday onwards, where we'll have more people coming on here and sharing the knowledge and spreading positivity. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.